So the Los Angeles Chargers showed exactly how you stop Patrick Mahomes, but they're not the first to do it. This has been done before. But I really feel like right when they did this, I'm kind of finally coming to the realization of this is how you stop the Chiefs. Let's just get into it. You play cover 3 zone. Like, that's pretty much as simple as it gets. You play cover 3 zone, and you might be a little bit confused and saying, okay, it's never that simple, and you're right, it is never that simple. Part of what you have to do if you're playing cover 3 zone is you have to have a good pass rush. Basically, the idea is that you have the pass rush where you can get there in 4, and so therefore, these deep developing routes can't work. And, some of these smaller routes could potentially work, but it's difficult to get these smaller routes against a zone coverage like a cover 3. Now, you're sitting here and saying, well, that's not necessarily true. I mean, for Kansas City, they can just have Kelsey run out a route like that, right? Very simple, gets into a gap in coverage, and it's going to work on this play, He's able to easily run out, gets into a gap in coverage, makes the catch, turns his body, runs forward, and picks up a first down. So, there's definitely ways you can beat this. This is not a foolproof coverage. Like, there's other ways, too. You could do something like this, where you kind of load up in the middle of the field. You have 5 players, so every one of your eligible receivers is going to run over in the middle of the field, which is going to kind of try to, there are some opportunities here where you could potentially get somebody open. Again, it's a cover 3, so only 4 people are over the middle of the field. However, as you notice, right when this play starts, no one's really that open. I mean, you could argue Tyreek Hill on the bottom of the screen is a little bit open. He's the one guy who there's actually someone who's supposed to be covering deep who has ended up covering Hill here. So he kind of stays deep. Now he's going to have to run in. But, I mean, even if Mahomes makes this throw, there's a very real chance this one gets deflected and knocked away. So this is not wide open. And, Mahomes would have had to be just looking there instantly. So the chances of this working are very slim. And on top of this, there is now pressure. So Mahomes has to run around. He can't find anybody to throw it to and has to throw it away. I think my clear point here and what I'm trying to make is that there is no way to completely shut down Patrick Mahomes. But there is a way to get a good amount of stops against him. Like, let's look at some other examples of this cover 3 zone defense. The most famous would probably be the Super Bowl, right? I mean, this is a very similar defense to the same kind of scheme that the Chargers run. And we all remember this play, right? This is the 3rd down and 15. It's cover 3 zone. And the way they're doing this is it's a perfect kind of concept to beat cover 3 zone. You have one receiver who's just going to run over the middle. His job is to kind of take away, the player who's covering closest to the top of the screen deep. That's his job. Typically, that corner who's in charge of covering that zone is going to be looking at the receiver closest to the top of the screen, so he gets out of position. You then have Tyreek Hill fake as though he's also running over the middle, but then he cuts to the top of the screen, and because there's no one else there now, he can get open. That's the concept. And as you see, this is working out pretty well. I mean, if you look deep, the 49ers player is definitely covering a different receiver other than Hill. So when Hill cuts to the top of the screen, there is going to be a little gap there. And while there is pressure on Mahomes can now make this throw because, there is enough time and it's far enough away that he can still make this throw. So he makes this throw deep. Hill was able to make the catch. They pick up a huge gain, and this is a huge reason they were able to win the Super Bowl. So if there's a clear way to beat cover 3, well, why don't they just do this all the time, right? Why isn't this just a very common thing that Kansas City does? The reason it is incredibly difficult to pull off. Like, let's look at that Chargers game. There was almost an identical situation where you're going to have Kansas City. This time it's a 3rd down and 14, so essentially the same thing. Still cover 3 zone, same concept that Kansas City is running here. This time they're using their number 1 and 3 receiver, but essentially the same thing. However, this time what you notice is that the Chargers are just doing a better job being prepared for this, Their safety is doing a much better job at reading this play, and the defensive back who's in charge of covering the top of the screen is also doing a much better job of reading this play, of not getting fooled by a player running over the middle. And now, instead of Mahomes throwing to a wide open player, he's essentially throwing into double coverage, and this play could have easily been intercepted. It falls incomplete. So it's as much as you want to sit here and say, well, there are ways to beat it, there's just as many ways to stop it. And I think my main point with why this coverage works against Mahomes isn't that Mahomes can't beat this coverage. It's that it's the most difficult coverage for him to beat consistently. The reality is, if you hold Mahomes to 20 points, you feel pretty good about that. I mean, in my opinion, the reason the Chargers lost is because they weren't able to get enough going offensively, and they were only able to put up 20 points. In my opinion, the reason San Francisco lost was because late in the game, they weren't able to keep Mahomes off the field, and they weren't able to consistently get drives on offense. You'll give up 24 points to Mahomes. You'll give up 31 points to Mahomes. You take that, honestly. But this coverage gets Mahomes to make some mistakes. It gets the Chiefs offense to make some mistakes. It gets you off the field. There could be a holding. There could be a turnover. There could be just a couple of incomplete passes, which create these difficult situations. And eventually you can get off the field. And that's pretty much the strategy against the Chiefs. You'll give up a touchdown if it means you get two of your next drives not being scores. Like, you'll totally take that as a defense against the Chiefs because their offense is so good. And again, I should be clear, Kansas City's going to do something like this sometimes, where this is a pretty similar situation to the last two I showed, but this time there isn't even any setup routes. It's just Hill running deep, running the same route, trying to get the safety out of position, but there is going to be a defensive back in that area. However, this time, it's a play action. Mahomes rolls out, and this makes an insane throw on to run. And Hill, who is barely open, makes the catch, rolls into the end zone for a touchdown. And as a defense, like, there's nothing you can do there. That's going to happen. Mahomes is just weirdly, insanely good, right? So he's going to make these insanely good plays. Tyreek Hill is really fast, and he's going to make some plays where he's able to push the ball downfield really quickly. Both of those things are going to happen, and as a defense, you have to accept that those are going to happen if you're playing Kansas City. But that doesn't mean that Kansas City is unbeatable. If you have a good defense, which, I mean, listen, it's not going to work if you don't have the personnel for it, right? You have to have the personnel. But if you have a good defense where you have some smart guys on the back end, really two smart corners and a smart safety who can kind of cover what's going on deep, and then you also have something like a Joey Bosa or a Nick Bosa or some of these guys who can, get pressure consistently. It now means that these developing plays don't work. The shorter plays are more difficult, and that's also not really Kansas City's style. They don't want to have these 10, 12 play drives. They want to be able to push the ball down the field, and it makes it easier to stop the run as well, which means you have to throw the ball more, and it'll get you off the field more often. The second part of this is you might have to still score 30 points, but you know what? The Kansas City Chiefs are really good. They're a Super Bowl contending team and a Super Bowl winning team from last year for a reason. They're a really talented team, but there are ways you can beat them, and this is how you maximize your odds to win. So yeah, that's just what I think. I think that this is a beatable team. This is a beatable offense, but it's very difficult to do. That's just the reality of the situation. I'm not going to sit here and say it's easy, but if you are going to try to stop Mahomes, the best way to do it is to have good pass rushers, intelligent players in the secondary, and a good offense. So basically, I mean, you still only got like 6 teams that can beat him anyways, but this is one of the ways to do it. So yeah, that's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Obviously, half of my thought was just that you have to have a good team to beat Mahomes, but the other half is that even if you have a good team, you probably won't win unless you implement this strategy, or maybe you could do, like, if you blitz them a lot, that could work too. But, that's just what I think. Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.